great to be rejoined by Stephanie Otey. She does a great job, and she's here in studio. Does a tremendous job taking a look at the game of football. We talked a little college football in the last segment. Now, Stephanie, we're going to be diving into the NFL, and I know that you've got a few player props, but let's first things first start out there in the AFC South, as I know that you're out there more towards the southern part of the country. You get to see a few of these teams, and you got a little bit of a pick with regards to the division. It's one of the more demonstrative divisions, by the way, with a team that is, you're having to lay a price for them to be able to win the division, as the Jacksonville Jaguars, very clear favorites. You're finding them right around minus 150, minus 160 to win the division, and it sounds like you're liking the Jaguars to be able to win the division and make some noise out there in the AFC.
Yeah, although I love Urban Meyer and his college days at Ohio State, wasn't great for the Jags in the NFL. Probably historically one of the worst portions of his season. He didn't get to finish it out. But when we saw Doug Peterson take over, it was a significant difference. They surged. They won 6 of their last 7 games, went on to win the division, made a playoff appearance, so they did have to face the Chiefs. But we also saw Trevor Lawrence really emerge. First overall pick, covered him in college. Now he's really stepping into his footing here. He's got weapons now. Calvin Ridley's coming back. That's another prop that I'm taking. But the significant difference we saw when Peterson took over, 10 points or more per game since when Urban Meyer was coaching there. I think they're putting all the pieces together, especially with Lawrence really stepping into his one. I think he's going to have a big year 3. I almost lean towards taking one of his passing props as well. Really favorable for the Jags. They don't have that tough of a schedule in the AFC South as well. They are playing a lot of rookie quarterbacks. This is going to be an easy pick for the South. I really think that this is the year where the Jags improve.
And you did mention it before. You are going to be taking a look at, in terms of some of your player props, Calvin Ridley to go over his receiving yard total. You were able to get it at 875.5. How do you evaluate Calvin Ridley? Because it is such a unique situation. He did miss last year because of, well, the old gambling situation, and that was certainly something that came to as a shock to a lot of people. But how do you evaluate him with the year off? But at the same time, he did get traded for while he was off, so he was able to gain some camaraderie, what have you, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's not like he just got picked up in the offseason. He's been able to be with the team for quite a while.
Right, and we can't fault him for contributing to the gambling team, right? I mean, he's been out for a while now, and I think that's why his number's so low. Had a lot of talent. We saw through his first 3.5 seasons in the NFL. He averaged 68 yards per game. He only needs 53 to hit that mark of 875.5. And I think that's easily doable through 17 games. But that number is down not because of an injury. He did suffer an injury in 2021, but was out, like you said, because of the gambling suspension. So I think that's why there's questions around what his return will look like. But there's no injury concerns. The reports out of camp are that he's looking phenomenal, vibing well with Lawrence. I think that there are some target options, but he'll submerge as the number 1 target for Trevor Lawrence. Really liking it for right now. And the last time he played a full season was in 2020. He had over 1,300 receiving yards. So I think that this number, you're getting a great price for a player who we don't have to question the injury. He was gone because of a suspension. So this looks like a great number for me, and it also contributes to why I love the AFC South to go to the Jags.
And with Calvin Ridley, we remember he had a great college career. He was really putting it together at the NFL front as well. It was very shocking when we saw him out for the entirety of the season, and now he gets to work with Doug Peterson. He gets to work with, as you mentioned, Trevor Lawrence as well. That's going to be a nice quarterback for him, as Stephanie Otey is joining me in studio right here on the Greg Peterson Experience on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. And how about if we stay out there in the AFC, because I was talking about it, near and dear to you is the AFC South. Well, being someone who's a Green Bay Packers fan, I know quite a bit about Aaron Rodgers, and I know you're taking a look at one of his player props for the upcoming season. We're seeing, with regards to passing yards, depending on your book, his over-under is right around 3,800. I'm seeing some 3,850s popping up as well, but how do you evaluate him for the upcoming season? Because with Aaron Rodgers, if he runs anything close to the same offense that they did in Green Bay, and as we know, Nathaniel Hackett, who was with them in Green Bay for so many years, he is now with the Jets. I do think that he should be able to rack up a very nice season, assuming he stays out there on the field.
Yeah, I love this prop. I know he didn't have a great season last year, but he hasn't had weapons for a while in Green Bay, and they were out Devontae Adams to the trade. So that was a weird year, but he also was a back-to-back MVP. I think that his age could be a debtor, but everything else aligns for him to achieve over 3,800 passing yards. He's hit that mark in 12 of his last 15 seasons. Last year, as we mentioned, kind of a fluke. Questions around how he was, but also out a lot of top receivers. But the other 2 seasons, he was out with an injury, 2013 and 2017 with the collarbone. So every other year he's hit that mark. And if he hits over 4,000 this year, he'll become the second Jets quarterback, aside from Joe Namath, for 10 seasons to hit over 4,000 passing yards. Not to mention, with the Jets, you mentioned that his familiarity with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. He's also familiar with former teammates Lazard and Cobb. But he gets a significant boost with Garrett Wilson, the offensive rookie of the year last year. Covered him in college as well. I think he can make some significantly big plays with Garrett. He can always get to the ball, and especially when you're taking passes from Aaron Rodgers, expect a huge season from him. I'm not swayed by last season. I think I'm getting an advantage from that number because of how it went.
And I would say this as well. If you do like this prop, or really not just this prop, but anything with the New York Jets, you probably want to take a look at some of these bets right now, because with Hard Knocks coming out, with them being in the news, shock, surprise, surprise, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in the news, you're probably going to be seeing these numbers go upward. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of fading this team, unless if we see a situation where, Robert Saleh puts out there some really crazy quotes and everything like that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I would say take a look at these right now, because I do think that they're going to be driven upward. And I think that this one is intriguing as well. We're going to stay out there in the AFC as with the Baltimore Ravens. I thought that it was so interesting what they did last season, because every game that Lamar Jackson was out there on the field, they had a fourth quarter lead. And typically when you have a fourth quarter lead, that means that, we'll put it into cruise control. You're going to be working the ground game. And I believe that you're taking a look at J.K. Dobbins to have a nice season as well with some of the props that you're looking at for the season.
Yeah, you can tell I love taking former Buckeyes. And J.K. Dobbins making his return. It's the last year of his rookie contract. He's going to want to come out with a big number, and he's going to want to get guaranteed money from this. There was also released today that they're in conversations with his contract now, because he has been sitting out of practice. Questions around whether it was a re-aggravation of his knee, but it sounds like it's just the running back holdout that is the holdup there. So I think that they're going to get past that. He's going to have a big season in his final year of his rookie contract to get that guaranteed money. I've seen him beat Eddie George's rushing record in a single season at Ohio State, ran over 2,000 yards his junior year. We saw how he was through 8 games. He was averaging 5.7 yards per carry, very efficient. But he wasn't getting the ball as much. As we know, there were some concerns with Greg Roman why he wasn't getting the ball as much there. And even John Harbaugh commented on it in post-game press conferences. He didn't know why Dobbins wasn't getting the ball as much. I don't think that's going to be a concern with Todd Monken. We know the Ravens love to run the ball. They ran the ball over 30 times per game. That was 7th in the NFL. That's not going to change once Dobbins gets back in. I think it's going to increase. He's going to get more carries. I think he's really going to light it up now that he's back to healthy, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. I love betting on him with a chip on his shoulder, and I know J.K. Dobbins pretty well, and if they're talking a lot about Jonathan Taylor, that is enough fuel to get him going.
Yep, and I alluded to it as well. If the Ravens continue that trend of always having that fourth quarter lead, that means that they are going to be feeding him the ball late in games as well. So I do think that that provides a little bit of added value. And Stephanie, I know that you've got some ties to Ohio State, so I'll give you this question as well, because as we know, there's going to be 2 rookie quarterbacks that are highly touted that we know are going to start. The Anthony Richardson situation, that is TBD, and personally, I don't think that we're going to see much good come from the Indianapolis Colts this season, but I know you were able to cover quite a bit of C.J. Stroud. What are your expectations for him this rookie year? Because I thought of all the quarterbacks coming out, he was the most pro-ready, and the way I look at this Texans team is that they're probably going to lose a lot of games, but I could see them being that really pesky team that sort of covers a lot of spreads when they're north of a touchdown underdog.
I hate to say this, especially because of the saying about Buckeye quarterbacks in the NFL, they're always a flop. This is the one where I do get a little bit concerned. I've seen C.J. Stroud get up in his nerves when he's in the pocket, but he showed up in that Georgia game in the Peach Bowl. But I think back to the Michigan game in the Horseshoe, familiar territory. I'm not sure what happened. They just didn't execute. And I think that when it comes to the big stage, I am nervous that he's not necessarily ready for it. That will come with reps. But to start him this early with one of the worst teams in the NFL, I do have concerns with how ready he'll be or how he can command this offense right out of the gate just because of the nerves he got. And I know that the team had some issues in the weight room and things like that. There weren't so much confidence in his ability to perform in moments like that, but that all did go away in that Georgia game. But I always say that if they didn't lose to Michigan the way they did at the Horseshoe on home base, I don't know if they would have played like that against Georgia. So taking that into consideration, I think he's got to be juiced. He can show up when he has to, but showing up every single Sunday in the NFL, I do think there will be a welcome to the NFL moment. I think it's a significant jump from Big Ten play.
Oh, absolutely. We have seen many rookie quarterbacks struggle, but he is going to have Dameon Pierce at his disposal. That should be able to help him out, just like Stephanie. You helped us out by joining us in studio. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Love being here in Vegas. Thanks for having me in studio. It's been great.